Welcome back to the channel, guys. I recently hit 200 subscribers, and first up I want to thank you all for the love and support you show me. It's been a fun year and a half of building planted aquascapes, learning about corals, and of course gluing animals to rocks. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video, as it really does help me reach more of you awesome tank-obsessed friends. Now, onto the video I've been dreading making, but I think it's really important that I share this with you as it's a normal part of reefing. Failure in reefing can come in all shapes and forms, whether it's a lack of knowledge in water chemistry, a lack of knowledge in corals, livestock, a failure in equipment, Mother Nature cutting off your power and leaving you with a freezing tank with no filtration, or just some good old-fashioned parasite breakout which destroys your progress. Now, in my situation, it was almost a perfect symphony of destruction. So here we go. This is the story of my tank crashing. Now, this story begins around 4 months ago, when I bought a canary blenny from my LFS and it introduced him into the display tank without a quarantine. Boom, first mistake. Within a couple of days, the blenny wouldn't eat, wouldn't leave his hiding spot, and no matter what I did, would not survive. I tried frozen food, I tried flake, pellets, I tried live food, pods, brine shrimp, I even made my own batch of garlic extract from scratch, and nope, nothing. 1 week later, the inevitable happened and I lost my canary blenny. Now, as sad and disappointed as I was when he passed away, I did not know the chain of events that was set in motion from this one mistake that I made. Within a couple of weeks of Lenny, the blenny, passing, I noticed the remaining tank mates, a couple of clowns, a royal grama, my favourite fish, a hawkfish, and a 6-line wrasse started showing signs of flashing. This concerned me deeply, however I chose not to panic and monitored them carefully, not wanting to introduce any treatments or chemicals as yet, as they were still eating voraciously and they looked very healthy. I also wanted to dial down on the disease or parasite exactly before treating it instead of using a blanket approach. I gave the fish 2 freshwater dips and this seemed to ease their flashing signs. A couple more weeks went past and I maintained my usual and religiously weekly water changes. Water tests completed by my LFS and maintained my regular parameters, which you have seen in previous videos. I had to travel to New Zealand for work and would have to leave my tank for only 2 days. I repeat, just 2 days. I completed a water change as usual, fed my tank the normal amount as I would, and left. When I returned home, I was met with a cloudy tank which resembled a bacterial bloom. The fish looked lethargic and skittish. My corals looked pissed off. My hammer and trachea fully rescinded into their skeleton, and when I opened the tank lid, the smell of death punched me right in the nose. Completed a water test and a huge ammonia spike was present. There were no dead fish, everyone was accounted for, and then I realised my astray snail was nowhere to be found. When I looked behind a rock, there he was, Gary the snail, upside down, rotting away. At some stage over the weekend, Gary had yeeted himself off the glass, fallen upside down and could not roll back over. Now Gary had nuked my tank, and it was at this point I realised the inbuilt filter that comes with the Flex was just not strong enough to cope with a dead snail, a single dead snail, rotting for a possible 2 days. I quickly completed an 80% water change and tried my best to try and save the fish and corals. I added a second wave maker to create additional gas exchange to help the fish breathe. I also placed an internal sponge filter to increase the filtration. However, the damage was done. 2 days later, I lost my favourite fish, the royal grama, which my wife named Bandit. My spirits further beaten, but I did not give up at this stage. I spent the next week completing small water changes until all signs of ammonia were being removed from the water test readings. This event, however, completely swung my parameters, which were in complete harmony for so long now. Nitrates were bad, phosphates were bad, corals were not happy at all. From here on, it was like fighting a losing battle. I found it extremely difficult to balance my parameters out again. About a week after the crash, I noticed both my clowns were covered in white spots. There was about 3 to 4 spots on each clown. I initially thought it was ick, then I saw a mucus slime on their bodies, which was slowly getting worse. All signs pointed to Brooklinella. I gave the fish a freshwater dip again and monitored to see if this made a difference. Brooklinella is a fatal disease that affects marine fish by attacking their gills and creating a build-up of mucus, and is caused by the ciliated protozoan Brooklinella hostilis. These parasites live on the skin of fish and can lead to severe respiratory problems once the gills are infested. I called my LFS and purchased a bottle of formalin. I set up a hospital tank with the old Evo 13.5 and started treating the parasite-riddled clowns. Every 2 days I would complete a water change as directed by the medication instructions, and to my surprise they responded well. They started eating and eating well. Finally some hope. A couple of mornings later I woke up to 2 dead clowns. I was mentally exhausted from fighting this tank crash, but didn't want to give up yet. That being said, now I had only 2 fish left and a bunch of very angry corals with poor water chemistry that just did not want to balance out. I stuck to my water changes, dosing, and kept at it, but the final knockout came in the form of a pest, the last thing I thought would crash my tank. A pest that had been hiding and slowly devouring my large colonies of goniopora corals. I attended a family wedding over a couple of days, and when I returned home I found a rather large black spiny sea urchin stripping my goniopora clean off the polyps. I did not start this tank with live rock. This urchin must have come in on a coral frag and grown in the tank over the last year. This was it, the knockout blow for me. No matter what I tried, I felt like this tank was crashing in one way or another. There was no point fighting it anymore. I just wanted to save the current fish and coral that I had left. So I cleaned the Evo 13.5, quickly set up escape, and moved the remaining corals, which were just the softies now, along with the hawkfish and the six-line wrasse into their temporary home. So that brings us to the present day. Now that you're all caught up, I'm happy to say the last 2 remaining survivors, the six-line wrasse named Miona and the hawkfish named Robbie, are still alive and well. They're currently enjoying life in the Evo and are getting along, disease-free. Even though I lost 4 fish and some expensive corals, I can take away some important lessons from this experience. Number 1, always quarantine your fish. There's no need to take the risk, just quarantine. Number 2, always dip new corals to kill any unwanted pests. And number 3, invest in big filtration from the beginning. The bigger the better in this case. So that was my story. I've read about crashes, I've watched other people's crash videos on YouTube. I just never hoped to experience one myself. But what next, you may ask, RT? Well, over the last few weeks I've been saving up some dollary dues to start upgrading the Flex. But that's for another video coming shortly. I made this video not to discourage you guys from the hobby. In fact, now that I have experienced this event, it actually has given me more confidence for my next escape and for my next video. So I want to thank you all for watching, and if you have any questions at all, make sure you like, comment and subscribe down below. Thanks for your time, guys. Hope you enjoy the video. Bye bye.